Greetings and welcome everyone to Mind the Moment in Everyday Life. Now, each month we take a theme and we explore how mindfulness can support us in bringing that theme to life in the flow of our everyday lives. Our theme for this month of February is mindful movement for happier joints and muscles. I'm your host, John Roberts from Living Well Community, the vast library of interactive virtual wellness classes and on-demand programming created and curated for you by Point 32 Health and its family of companies, which include Harvard Pilgrim Healthcare and Tufts Health Plan. I'm thrilled to be joined all this month by your mindfulness guide, Mary Starr Green. Welcome to you, Mary.
Thank you, John. It is a pleasure to be here, as always.
Now, Mary, last week you demonstrated a set of movements focusing on the spine. Now, if folks had a chance to try these moves out, we'd love to know how it went. Were they helpful? Were you able to incorporate them into your daily life? So open up the chat, join the conversation here, and also please ask us any questions or make any comments you'd like to, either now or at any time throughout our session today. And we'll pause occasionally to look at the chat and see what folks are thinking. Now, for myself, Mary, if I may, a challenge I frequently face in my life is finding time for self-care activities while also juggling work and spending quality time with my 4.5-year-old son. So I was delighted to discover that mindful movement is actually an excellent way to practice self-care while spending time with my son. And my way into this was this wonderful book by the great Eric Carle, From Head to Toe, in which the reader is invited to strike various poses illustrated by animals. Poses that to me looked eerily similar to some of what we've been doing in these sessions. For example, I am a giraffe and I bend my neck. Does that look like something we were doing? I think it was. And
I think we'll do
also,
it today.
ooh, and the cat. I am a cat. And finally, I am an alligator. This one actually reminded me a little bit of the the side to side move you had us going in yesterday, which I've been enjoying quite a bit. So I'm just, folks, if you're looking to trick your kids into doing mindful movement exercises with you, that's a great way to do it. Now, Mary, would
Can
you
I
mind
say
telling,
something about, can I just say
please?
a couple things? First of all, I love that book, Timeless. And also, I don't think we even have to trick our kids into doing mindful movement. It's more like the reverse. I mean, our kids like your son's age, they're so open and curious and in their bodies that, they're just exploring and curious. And I think we can take a lesson from them.
Yeah, Mary, thank you for being the better angels of my nature. You're right. I should not be tricking my son into doing this. I should just be inviting him, and probably he's going to say yes. Comment here from Colleen. I have been doing the routines daily via the YouTube recording. Feels so good. Gets my spine ready for a full day of moving mindfully. Wonderful. Thank you, Colleen, for that.
So happy to
Well,
hear that.
so, Mary, that's a great segue, I think, for you to maybe tell us what region of the body we'll be focusing on today, and maybe say a few words about why that region is of importance in these sessions.
Thanks, John. Well, I thought today we would do some movements that targets the upper part of the body, the head, and specifically neck, shoulders, upper back, that whole area, and why that's important. So, we tend to not be aware of this part of the body in postural ways, and we also tend to be holding our bodies just by the virtue of how we work, commute, sit with a screen that really counters what is healthy for our bodies and for our breath. So we're going to kind of counteract that in.
Beautiful, beautiful, Mary. Before we get into that, if you don't mind, you've been separating these practices as we've been saying by region. Now, I'm wondering if folks are looking to continue building a personal mindful movement practice for themselves once these sessions have ended. Do you think it's best that they focus on a particular region of the body each day, like how some people have like an arms day or a legs day when they're lifting weights at the gym, or do you think it works to mix and match?
Oh, well, that's an interesting question. what comes up for me first is that this practice, which is I consider it a movement practice, yes, but it's a way to develop mindful attention within our body mind. And so I would maybe approach it more from, check in with your body. Some days we need something that's a little bit more vigorous or something in the spine, and some days we need a little neck or shoulders. And I would encourage approaching it that way, just a little bit more about listening to the body
I can imagine
versus,
that.
yeah.
Sorry, please.
No, that was it versus saying, hey, today's my neck day. If what
Mm.
you really need is something for your spine or just to get out and take a walk.
I like to think that if people are doing mindful movement, are like, you know what, today's neck day. Today's neck day. But I have those neck days. So Mary, mindful breathing has been and will be, I imagine, a big part of these sets of movements you've been leading us in. I'm wondering if you think there's a difference as to whether one breathes through the nose or the mouth. Is one better for this type of practice, or does it not really matter?
Oh, well, it's definitely different. I mean, it is definitely different. Um, it- there's a few factors. I guess what I would say about it is, in general, it's best to be breathing in and out through your nose. But sometimes we got sinus stuff, or if you're doing a really big workout, where you're using the mouth to inhale and exhale, it happens. But to the degree that we can practice a deep breathing that utilizes the fullness of our lungs and to slow the pace of our breathing down, and that's going to have the biggest benefits. And so, in general, we want to be breathing in and out through the nose. There are some breath practices, and I think we did a couple of them last week, where you actually exhale through the mouth, like letting go. And so our body naturally knows to do those things to depressurize and kind of get some balance into our nervous system, which isn't, exhale. I guess another exhale that I'm thinking of through your mouth would be one that where you're learning the belly breath and the abdominal breathing. And we'll do a couple of these in a few minutes, where you're actually using your abdominal muscles and creating a little pursed lips and making a sound to engage the muscles of the belly. And so those are ways that we can use the exhale through the mouth that it's actually beneficial for our system. I guess I'll put also a plug in for a book by James Nestor called The Breath Book or The Breathing Book. And if you're interested in the science of it and somebody going to the nth degree to learn about breath and efficiency of breathing, it's an interesting read.
It's great, and what I keep hearing is across these answers, Mary, is that you telling us to listen to our bodies. Like, what do we need in this moment? What do we need today? And letting the body be the guide, which sounds like a good method. Now, Mary, I'll admit that just for myself personally, practicing yoga has never been one of the contemplative practices. I've really just gotten into that deeply. And so for somebody sort of outside that, like myself, what we're doing here in these sessions seems like it shares a lot of DNA with yoga practice. But I'm wondering, is that right? Or would you make a distinction between yoga and what we're referring to as mindful movement in these sessions?
Well, again, an interesting question. And again, I think I would say more about that. The word mindful is really the attitude that we're bringing towards what we're doing. It is movement. We're moving our bodies through space and time and creating different shapes. Um, I would argue there might be some yoga that would be if you're not really paying attention to your breath or how you're feeling, you know. But in general, yoga is a form of mindful movement. And there are other, some people might be doing Tai Chi or Qigong, but any activity that you do, that you're bringing that kind of listening into your body and perhaps synchronizing with a breath or bringing awareness to your breath, especially deepening it. Um, those all qualify as mindful movement in my book. So, yeah.
I feel like there's kind of a formula that you could do: body plus space plus time plus attention equals what we're doing here. Speaking of which, I think maybe we should get into it now, folks. In these sessions, we're giving you two mindfulness practices. One is a set of movements that you'll be doing with us during the session, And then the second will be some suggestions for bringing those movements into the flow of your everyday life as a way to help you build up mindful movement habits in your daily life. But Mary, let's go into the movement practices that we'll be doing together today.
Sure. Thanks, John. So I'm going to be sitting down, but you could stand up and do all of these same kind of exercises that we're going to do. I'm going to sit back here a little bit. And we'll start as we will every week. Starting is to just um, check in. How's your body feeling? Taking in the breath, breathing in, and breathing out, and encourage just to take that first deep breath, see what that feels like to breathe in fully with a nice long exhale. When we're feeling tense or stressed in other ways, we can get constriction in the breath. So you might just notice, there are places that feel a little tight or constricted in your breath. And just notice without judging that. And as you're ready, we'll begin by taking a deep breath into the belly, letting it go up into the ribs and chest with a nice long exhale. And if you want to take that letting go breath, you breathe in through the nose, full breath into the belly, the ribs, the chest. And exhale slowly with like a little sigh or a sound as you relax your shoulders. Might do this a few times and just see how that feels to take the exhale accompanied with a little sound. Nice, long, complete exhale. If we had more time to practice, it would be continuing to expand into the fullness of the in-breath and to see if we can lengthen, to take plenty of time on the exhale. But just noticing how this brief guiding and experiencing of your breath that may be a little bit different than how you are naturally breathing. All right, so we'll come back into breath awareness, but you can just find your steady, relaxed breath. And then we can always begin with just noticing our posture or how, so I'm scooting here to the side just so you can see my profile here. And we're going to work a little bit with setting up for success in through our bodies. And so I'm going to exaggerate this too, but this is often how we are. Many of us are kind of moving in through a seated position or in a car or in our favorite lounge chair. So I've got a little kind of a curve in the back that is more from rocking back on my pelvis. So like my low back is kind of hanging out there. Shoulders are slumped. So my front of my shoulders are collapsed forward. Maybe my chin is down into my chest or leaning forward into a screen or, my phone or something like that. And so we want to see if we can bring more space. We talked about this last week, space along our spine, along our body. It's going to allow the lungs to have a little bit more freedom and to breathe in fully. So it starts right here from the hips and the pelvis. So neither rocking back or kind of pulling forward, but finding that place that feels like right in the middle. And our spine has some curvature to it, so we're not trying to straighten it, but just imagine that you had a thread at the very crown of your head that is lengthening you up. So you feel that you're drawing up all the way along the spine. And then relax your shoulders down away from your ears. And then the position of the head, again, I'll exaggerate it. Most of us kind of go through the world leaning forward into the next thing. So my chin's jutting forward. I feel a big stretch in the back of my neck that feels like tension. So we're going to see if we can, and I'm putting my finger here to my chin. I'm just drawing my chin in and kind of tucking it a little bit like a little double chin. This lengthens the back of the neck and it relaxes those muscles, especially there at the base of the skull that can get really tight. So here, with all these words, we're creating the success through the length of the spine. Okay, so then from here, we'll take a little bit of movement into the spine as a way of working with the movement of the neck and the spine. So we're going to start by bringing the hands behind the head. So already I'm kind of opening into the front of my shoulders. I'm interlacing my fingers, but you could also just have the fingers touching. And just tip the head back a little bit into the support of the hands as you draw your elbows back. And then lift up a little bit through your chest, lift your gaze a little bit. And just notice how this feels. You're actually using your arms a little bit to hold your head, but you're relaxing your head, relaxing it all. Okay. So you can remember that. We're going to come back to that. But you're going to begin to draw your elbows in towards your ears and let your head draw forward. So it might feel like you're not pulling on your head or the back of your neck, but you are creating just a little bit of connection there. So here, begin to push your head upward into your hands as you offer a little bit of resistance through your hands. So it's as if your head wants to lift, but your hands aren't letting it. Right? This is called an isometric movement. So now do that, but let the head win. So you're continuing to press the head up. Let the elbows draw back. So you're going to slowly go back to where we started. And then when you go all the way back and the head is supported in the hands, just relax into that. So we're going to take a big breath into this. And exhale, begin to draw forward like butterfly wings. The elbows are drawing in. The chin goes towards your chest, but you're keeping your spine nice and tall. Feel that little bit of a pull and then push up against the hands as you press the hands into the base of the skull and slowly lift it up, rolling the elbows back. And we'll do that one more time to draw forward. So we're starting with a small movement, but it's actually kind of a profound thing that can happen to release chronic muscle tension. Right there, pushing head into hands, allowing the hands to press into the skull, but slowly lifting up. Okay. And then you can release that and just shake it out up through the shoulders, right? Take the shoulders towards the ears and back and down. And these just simple movements like rolling your shoulders, making circles with the shoulders. And you might notice, the head wants to move around a little bit. So less about it has to be looking a certain way, but just notice what the sensations are as you take some circles through the shoulders. Okay. And then we're gonna let the arms come out to the sides, bend the elbows here. So my elbows are about shoulder height. I'm gonna press in towards my center. I'm gonna turn here so you can see. So in this position, so there's a little bit of movement that happens and a little bit of work that happens, but I'm pressing in hands to center and creating a lot of space and engagement into the upper back. This is a slight strengthener, but you're gonna breathe right into your back. Imagine you could breathe into your back. Okay. And then you're going to, once again, just like we did with the head, but you're going to bring the elbows out to the side and press into the space in back of you. So we're created front space, but we're also squeezing the shoulder blades in towards each other. So again, these are like little exercises that are more like work, but we're releasing some chronic tension and also building a little bit of strength. So we want to tone those muscles that help support us to sit tall. So you can breathe into your back or imagine you're breathing into your back. Taking the sensations as the shoulder blades are sliding apart. And then slowly parting like you're opening the curtains and you're pressing your palms back. Shoulders are relaxed. And just pause here, taking a couple of breaths here. Imagine you're breathing right into your collarbones. Okay. And then again, from that, you can release that. So the shaking out is important because we're engaging our muscles and now we're just encouraging them to release. Bring the arms around and back. And then lace the fingers together, right? And as you do, draw your shoulder blades in towards each other, relax your shoulders, and then lengthen your hands downwards. You're extending the arms downward. Continue reaching up through the crown of the head as you relax the shoulders down. And then you might try tipping one ear closer to the shoulder, so tipping the head to the side. You might tip it over to the other side. You might take a little circle through the head. And if it feels like you've got some, a lot of tightness in through the jaw, you can open and close the jaw a little bit, wiggle the jaw side to side, make a little noise. Okay, if you're moving the head, just pause. And you might even press the hands away from the back. Again, this is creating a lot of space into the front of the shoulders as you're engaged in your upper back. Nice big breath. All right, and relax that. Shake it out, shake it out, shake it out. a couple more in for the sides of the head. And this actually opens into the shoulders too. So you're going to take your right arm, reach it out. And if you reached it across, so I'm holding on with the opposite hand, my left hand's coming across and I'm drawing the shoulder, hand in towards the chest. So shoulders closed in the front. Breathe into that. So this releases tension into the back, right more towards the shoulder. And then bring the arm out to the side. And as you draw the thumb down, you're kind of taking that movement in through the shoulder. Bend at the elbow, and you're just going to slide so that the back of the hand comes to the back. So this might feel strange into the shoulder. So you can do a couple of things here. You can gently press down and encourage this area to drop away. And then you can tip your head over towards the left. That's one way to do it, right? Or keeping the hand right where it is, take the left hand and bring it up to your head. And as you're tipping your left ear towards the left shoulder, right, creating a lot of space and opening on the side of the neck. You're not pulling on the head. You're just gently resting, like letting gravity and the weight of the arm and hand to create that space. All of this accompanied by a deep breath in and out. Any little bit of micro moving is also good, opening and closing the jaw. Just being with all the sensations of opening these places that we tend to have tight and holding. Okay, we're going to release that. Release and just take a little pause and notice where your attention goes through this. For me, I feel a little tight, a little bit more buzzing in space on one side of the body than the other. I feel a lot within my neck. You might feel it slightly different. So as we do the other side, sweep the arm across. And so you're actually drawing inward to create more space in the back of the shoulder. Right. We can always breathe into this. And any of these you can hold for a long time. We're just doing this very, very briefly. And then let the arm come around and out. The thumb will come down. So we're drawing, actually internally rotating at the shoulder. And as you bend at the elbow, slide the hand back. So some of you might be able to even draw your hand across into the opposite, side of the waist. You decide if that's where you want to go. And either using the right hand to just gently press down through the shoulder, encouraging shoulder away from the ear as you tip the head, or to actually use the weight of the arm. And again, just let gravity take it as you gently draw the head over towards the right. Any little bit of micro moving, again, is good here. Just notice all that space you've created along the left side of your neck. All right, and release. Okay, again, a little shake out. So if I have just a little bit of time, I want to end with something that is more for the face. But a couple things. You can take your fingers and bring them into that divot at the jaw. So this is working more towards releasing chronic muscle tension. And if anybody has TMJ out there, you might already know this one. But you draw it in right to that little divot and just make little circles. And if it feels super achy, like it often does for me, well, you clench your jaws. So, and many of us do, right? And again, you could take this and make bigger circles if you want. You could take it for as long as you want, but that's just knowing that you can do that to release and actually soothe muscles there. Last one, and we're going to end with this. It's called eye palming. So it's not really for muscles, except maybe strain muscles around the eyes. So what I'm doing, and I encourage you to do the same thing, you're rubbing your hands together like you're going to start a fire to create all kinds of warmth there. So I'm warming up the palms, and I'm going to bring the palms in towards my eyes and actually tip my head a little bit forward. So I'm not pressing against my eyes, but I've cupped the palms into my eyes. So if I was sitting at a desk or somewhere forward, I would rest my elbows and just bring my hand in here. Okay, so with this, you might be feeling the warmth, and you can have your eyes open if you want, just feeling the warmth there, and you're releasing all the visual sense and all the strain that we get from screens and everything else. You might imagine you could breathe in and out through the eyeballs. So we're actually bathing that whole optic nerve with the warmth of our hands. So again, this is really good if done regularly and also done for more than just a few seconds, but you might notice just how you feel after just maybe that the 20 or 30 seconds that we did. And so very briefly, that's a way to that we can bring awareness into the upper parts of our body and move in a way that is supportive to our mind and body.
Mary, thank you so much for that. For folks who might be interested in doing this series of movements again, I'm just dropping into the chat right now a link to where you'll be able to access the recording of this session either later today or tomorrow. Now, folks, please do keep those questions and comments coming. Mary, in the meantime, I thought I did detect within the shoulder rolling, there's a little bit of the buffalo there, so a little bit of keeps the
Be the buffalo, John.
keeps giving dividends. Also, Mary, I just want to point out that I really loved something you said at the very beginning of your practice. You said you were referring to guiding and experiencing the breath. And I thought this was just a wonderful way to kind of define mindfulness in general, where we are guiding ourselves towards a particular outcome, perhaps, but really after we sort of point ourselves in the right direction, then we have to remember to step back and experience what results, draw energy from it, draw knowledge from it, draw enjoyment, so that we're not always just guiding, but also experiencing. It reminds me of when I'm in the summer, if I'm doing yard work, gardening or mowing the lawn, I always have to remind myself after I've done the work to sit back and enjoy it. And I feel like this is a big part of mindfulness. We guide, but then we also have to remember to experience.
Yes.
And Mary, you were doing such a great job of showing us, things in profound. And I'm thinking that folks might really benefit from if you have a mirror to sort of, help yourself get into the right positions. Or I don't really have a full length mirror, but I do have kind of like big windows, and so sometimes I do these sorts of things at night when I can sort of see my reflection in the window. Or I think if folks have larger computer screens, you could even set up a camera for yourself so you can make sure that you're doing the movements in the right
Great
way.
idea. Mhm.
Mary, I'm wondering if you might have any suggestions for how we might bring some of the movements that we were just doing into our everyday lives, like in maybe more subtle ways, so we don't have to like stop and do them, but maybe in the flow of things that we're already doing.
Sure. Well, first of all, I'll say again, I think our bodies know when we need certain things. So, the shoulder rolls or putting your hands to your low back, and we often do that anyway, almost have been, automatically. And so just you might even notice and catch yourself doing things like that. That's a connection of, oh, my body knows, to release a little bit of tension there. Um, and I just encourage the development or just knowing what your habits are, not to judge it and not to say, oh, I have to improve. But so often what we do, especially the way we're sitting and just aligning our ways, but to even bringing that awareness or having the thought of a cord at the crown of the head on occasion, can bring these little micro moments of noticing how the body's positioned. Um, and I guess I would also say, if that's not enough, it's just building awareness. And as you're moving, maybe through the week, whether it's through these kind of movements or using the recording again, or whether it's just finding yourself on the move, to bring awareness of your body in movement. How do you hold yourself? Um, are you aware of what's being moved and stretched and how you're doing it, or are you just moving to get from point A to point B? We move in the world in a lot of different ways. So I think the more that we can build these moments of aha, getting curious and notice our habit patterns is great fun.
And Mary, for me, just being with you, I feel like it makes me want to stand up a little bit straighter, or just to so you know that I'm paying attention. Heather says I'm recovering from the flu and have lots of body aches. This made a big difference and brought a lot of relief. Thank you to you, Mary, from Heather, and thank you to
Very good.
for that
Wonderful to
comment.
hear. Wonderful to hear.
Now, Mary, I couldn't be more grateful for all of your guidance today. I look forward to continuing to explore this topic with you next week. Thank you so much for your teaching and your practice this morning.
The pleasure is all mine, John, and thank you, everybody.
Final word before we go from the legendary dancer and choreographer Martha Graham, who said, quote, all that is important is this one moment in movement. Make the moment important, vital, and worth living. Do not let it slip away unnoticed and unused, end quote. Make the moment important by making the movement important, and make the movement important by giving it the gift of your attention. We hope to see you next week, folks. We'll be back again with Mary. Until then, please go forth and be excellent to each other.